Hey everybody, Garcia here. Today we're going to be taking a look at a two-player only game in which we'll be dodging the Sheriff of Nottingham and stealing from the rich. This is Robin von Locksley. In this game, players are going to be taking tiles from the center of the board, and those are going to represent the goods they have stolen. They are going to be collecting them, they're going to be possibly selling them and making coins from that, but ultimately all they are doing is attempting to advance their scoring piece around the outside of this collection of tiles in order to make 2 laps around and come back in. So it's kind of a racing game. It has that feeling. Each one of the steps they're moving along has a requirement on it that must be met. But you could brute force your way past it by paying a little bit of money. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at it. I'll give you an overview. We'll come on back after that. I'll tell you what I think of it. So here's what the game might look like set up and ready to begin. We are going to randomize the center and the rest of the tiles go here. And then the outside as well. And you use the tiles in a random formation there. There are even a few extras that you won't be using. And the players are going to take turns back and forth until someone wins. The objective is one of 2 things. You can either win by making 2 laps on the track and coming back to the final spot, which is sitting on the outside here, before your opponent does, or by lapping your opponent. So if the blue player has made it to here, and the red player has gone around once, and then makes it to that spot, they are going to win the game as well. You'll win before you have to go around twice if you do that. The players are going to pick corners, so the start player actually picks a corner. Red will be our start player. They took this corner and took the tile that was sitting there, flipped it face down to indicate it's now a coin. And then the other player takes the opposite corner and also takes a coin. And you're ready to begin. So here's how the turns go. On your turn, you are going to move your piece as a knight would move in chess. That is 2 spaces and then 1, or 1 space and then 2. Whichever way you want to do it is fine. And you're going to take the spot of the tile you ended up on. So if red's first, they do that. They remove this, and they keep it as the item that they found, and they draw one from the stack and fill in the spot they left from. And that's their turn. Besides that, you are also going to be attempting to move on these, of course. You can do this anytime on your turn. And if you qualify for the condition, then you can move. You can also pay a coin to ignore the condition and just force yourself along the track. So for example, as I said, red just went. They took this green tile here. So they have a collection of these cups, these golden cups. And the first requirement here is only 1 collection. Great. Well, red only has 1 collection of cups. So they move on that. The next one is a coach robbery for the green cups, the golden cups. So they have that as well, right? So they move on that. The next one is sell 1 collection for exactly 1 coin. I haven't done that, so I'm not moving on to that one. I could, again, pay the coin and just force myself along, but they might not do that. The other thing, which is precisely what that's referring to, is how you make coins in this game. When you have a certain number of these tiles in the same collection, you may choose to sell them to make some coins. And it's always, you have to have at least 3. When you choose to sell them, you discard 2 of them out of the game into a face-up discard pile, and the rest of them become coins. So in order to sell a collection for exactly 1 coin, you need to sell 3, and that turns into 1 coin that you keep. That would move me along on that spot. So that's it for the red player's turn. It is now the blue player's turn, and they are going to go ahead and jump to, let's say, this one here. They'll take that. They take blue. We replenish the spot they left from. They have a single collection. They do not have a coach robbery for that green, so they are not advancing onto that spot. And they are not going to pay to continue moving, so it goes back to the red player. And the red player is going to move from here to here, pick up this one, giving them 2 in green, and hopefully once they get another one, they can sell all 3 of those for 1 coin and move on to this spot here. right? So it's all about managing these different requirements, the order they randomly came up in, so that you can advance as far as you can on your turn, on every turn, right? Sometimes you can chain 3, 4, 5 of these together. Sometimes it takes you a while to even move one. So it's it's all about what you see coming up and how you intend to do it, how you want to manage it. Do you just brute force your way through it by paying? And then maybe you pay for one thing, have a collection with 4 cards. Okay, maybe that's hard for me right now, so maybe I'll pay the coin for that, but have exactly 3 collections, i.e. 3 colors. Maybe I have that. And the next one says have less than 7 tiles in front of you. Maybe I have that as well. Own equal or an equal amount or fewer coins than your opponent. Great, maybe I have that. So if I pay for one, I can take another 3 after it. That's the general flow of the game. And again, this is going to go back and forth. Blue would go rather. They take that one. They now have the green coach robbery there. And they still can't quite sell one, but they're going to pay a coin to push past it, because the next one says they have to have 2 different between green, blue, and black. Well, they have green and blue, so boom, that one's taken. Biggest collection of one color. They have more blue than the other player. They've taken it. Some of them are going to be requirements about where these 2 pieces, the robins as they're called, are in position in relation to each other. Sometimes cards around the outside here, these requirements will need you to be adjacent. This is adjacent. Diagonally adjacent, which is obvious, or within what's called striking distance. And striking distance simply means where if you would and could move to the location where your opponent is, if you could do that, you are what's called within striking distance, right? You never do that. They just require you to be, quote unquote, within striking distance. So blue would be with red, and of course red is within striking distance of blue. Sometimes you just have to do that. Sometimes the game requires you, as it says here, to be in a corner. And if you're in a corner, you pass that step. So there you go. That's basically it. Again, lap your opponent or make it to the end. The very final step here, long live the king, is you have to have 4 coins, and you cannot pay to move on to this one. You have to have 4 coins to get there. So sometimes as you are definitely getting closer, you want to start preparing for that final step by making large collections and selling them for a lot of those coins. That's pretty much it. Once the tiles run out, you shuffle up the discard pile, you set it into play again, and you continue going. I've now explained a few of the different things. I'm not going to go over them all. Just wanted to give you a feeling of the kinds of things you will encounter. So, let's go back up top. Let me give you some final thoughts about this and tell you ultimately what I think of it. Robin of Locksley is the game we have just looked at, and we're going to go ahead and talk about it a bit. So, overall, I liked this game. It's an interesting game. It's engaging. I liked what was going on. I thought the turns were straightforward and interesting, and the whole thing has a nice puzzly feel to it. Now, this is an Uwe Rosenberg game, and I just recently took a look at another Uwe Rosenberg game, which is a bit similar to this, and that's this game right here, Nova Luna. Nova Luna is a bit more abstracted than this one. It feels a little less dynamic than this one, and so I ultimately enjoyed this better. Now, this does play multiplayer, but it's graded 2 as well. So between them, this just feels to have a bit more of a spark in it. And let me tell you about that. All right, so my main drawback here being largely the same that it was in the other game. That is the thematic ties. The setting's nice here. The other one really had no setting. So the setting is nice, but there is nothing in this game that has anything to do with Robin, with the Sherwood Forest, with the sheriff, with any of that. So, not there. The aesthetics are very nice here. The production quality is great. Tiles are very nice. Artwork is surprisingly very nice, and I like all of that. My only small issue, which technically I have written here for a little later, but I'll mention it now, is some of the tiles that say this is what you need to achieve. You want to make sure you read the rule book for the full description of their abbreviation on the tile. They can be a little misleading sometimes. The replayability, it's only a 2-player game, so there's no scalability to concern ourselves with. But I thought that the variability here was very nice. The tiles, for one thing, are going to come out in a different order, so the racetrack is going to be different every game. And you see the whole thing before you start the game. So you know what's coming. You can prepare for that. And that's going to keep the game from feeling too lucky, right? We'll talk about that. But also it gives you a nice amount of replayability. What you do, how you choose to strategize, when you slow down and when you make a big push, that sort of thing. I thought that came across well, the replayability. The game length is adjustable. You can choose to play a faster game by having fewer of the tiles that make up that racing track. You can choose to make it a longer game by having more of them. But I thought the base game was great. It's a solid length. It's engaging. It's interesting the whole time. 2 times around is always the case. But with the amount of tiles that are there, you will have those moments of, you're trying to lap someone. That's pretty hard to pull off. But it's fun. It's an interesting thing, trying to not get slowed down by too many roadblocks along the way. Choosing when you pay for something is a big key of the game, in my opinion. It feels, of course, like, Reichholt. It's got that Reichholt thing, and I think this one tackles that concept of how much you push on this track, and that track is everything. That's how you win or lose. I think this takes that central core in Reichholt or in the Gates of Loyang, and it makes it an interesting, really the most interesting aspect of this game. All right. Next up, we've got ease of play. I already talked about how you want to read the rule book for those full descriptions, but other than that, the game is very simple. The moves are simple on the board. There's going to be no holdups in this game while you're playing. Everything will make sense very easily. And then lastly, tactics and strategy and luck. There's a little bit of luck as you are replacing the tiles on the board, but it does not feel to have luck that is very problematic. The little bit that is there is easily dealt with. And like I said, the whole track is open and available to you at the beginning of the game, which I really like that. You can see everything coming up. So it makes the game feel strategic. There are some tactics reacting to what's going on, but it largely feels like a lot of planning ahead. And it's not bog you down, grind kind of planning ahead. It's lively planning ahead. It's neat. It's interesting. I like especially games in which you are going to have, I talk about this in my bottom line, but games in which you have normal turns and big turns. And this game gives me that. A lot of games settle for having sort of across the board interesting turns, but there are no highs and lows. And this game gives me those highs. There are turns when you advance on 4 or 5 things all at once. You pay for some, you qualify for others. It's great. And those turns are particularly exciting. So there you go. Let me go ahead and give you my bottom line here on this one. Engaging and attractive, the game allows for moments of amazing progress, something I love in gaming, and some pretty fun puzzles to boot. So this is going to get a 7.5 out of 10 from me. That is going to be a seal of approval. I certainly recommend it. This is a neat game. It's a solid 2-player game. I've enjoyed it very much. I think it's one I would love to continue playing, because I think it's going to continue to provide an interesting experience. So if you're looking for a fun, kind of puzzly 2-player game, you're not too worried about the theme coming through, this is going to give you that. And if you like that mechanism of racing around with little roadblocks you have to manage your way through along the way, then this is the one to get. So there you go. Robin von Locksley. I'm Z Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.